Hey guys, so welcome to eMentor stroke Ask Philip. We basically decided to trial something whereby people submitted questions and they wanted a responsive source from me. So I suppose help them get some clarity around a subject, or maybe get to know a little bit more about myself or us, etc, etc. So we've never done this before. I don't mind questions. When I speak, I don't mind Q&A, because I think speakers often worry about not having the right answers or getting caught out or whatever, which doesn't really bother me. So to spice it up a little bit, I suppose, we've done two things, or we decided to do two things. One is the questions haven't been rehearsed, so I have not seen any of the questions. So Pauline's basically going to read out the questions, and I'm going to do my best to address it. And you can add something as well. You don't have to leave it all to me.
Of course.
The second thing is I brought Pauline in, and why not? It's about time I got exposed for the truth and the fact that I'm not as talented as people think, and etc, etc. So you'll see a bit of that. So we're trying it and see what happens. And then finally, I suppose this is a kind of a trial. It's a personal trial for me, and perhaps for us. I might do this in the future on my own. We may do it together. We may drop it completely. And it's not based with respect purely on the feedback from individuals such as yourself who may be watching this, who have submitted questions. What our clients and what our clan and our community think, the value they get is extremely important to us. But I think sometimes we lead too much by what we need to do as business owners, as educators, as teachers, that we often feel that we have to be on Facebook, we have to be on Twitter, we have to do Q&A, we have to do Ask Philip questions, etc. We don't operate like that. It's got to be fun for me, it's got to be fun for us, otherwise it's just not going to work, and energetically we're not going to put the energy and effort into it. So bear with this. The other thing, and finally, and then I'll shut up and we'll get into it, but is just to apologise for taking so long to get to these. We put this out, I think, in sometime in November. Yeah. People submitted questions, and we just haven't got to it. Not because of time, I just haven't been feeling it, to be honest. So we bought a new microphone, which allows us to do this, and
okay,
let's go.
Ready to go. Okay, so the first question is from Clint. You talk a lot about intuition and how you use it to help others. It sounds like you are naturally intuitive, which is great. However, what about those of us who are not naturally intuitive? I believe we all have some degree of intuition, and I assume that there is a way to build or strengthen our intuition. If this is a correct assumption, I would appreciate some advice, guidance, or techniques to enhance my intuition. I have tried, I'm trying meditation to get in touch with my inner voice, but so far no luck. I would appreciate your input on this topic. Thank you, Clint.
Okay, let's start with an easy one. I was kind of hoping that we'd get through maybe 3 questions for each video, but I'm realizing that may not be possible. But okay, there's a lot in that. There's multiple questions in that. So number one is, just read the first part again, please.
You talk a lot about intuition and how you use it to help others. It sounds like you're naturally intuitive, which is great.
Okay, that's great, thanks. Well, first of all, you go on to say, or Clint goes on to say, that basically some people are naturally intuitive. I believe we're all deeply and naturally intuitive. I think that we have intuitiveness in abundance, and I think that not always do we believe that. I think we don't trust it. I think we move into our heads a lot, and we're living in our heads. I spoke at a conference. I just came back from the Bahamas last week, where I was very honoured to be invited down as a co-host or facilitator to work with a group of individuals. And I spoke a bit about intuition throughout that whole week, but I think we're all naturally intuitive. I think we have it in abundance. I don't think we trust it. I think we live in our head too much. I think we use too much, we're absorbing too much information through Google, through books, through blogs, and the more information, intellectual information that we're taking on, we're pushing ourselves up, we're living in our heads too much. So that's some of the things that are preventing us. But to fast forward, I suppose, to some extent, the full answer to this, I did a video recently about the inhibitors. I also did an interview, I was kind of interviewed around intuition. So if you look back in the last 2, maybe 3 blog posts, you're going to find an interview where a gentleman was very intrigued about intuition, and I spoke in depth about intuition and about how to get in touch with more of it, to trust it, but also to move through the inhibitors, to identify the inhibitors. The other thing, Clint, is, with respect, I think we all need help. I didn't, wake up one morning and realize I'm intuitive and naturally kind of tap into it. I would strongly encourage people to seek out some help in getting through some of the blocks that inhibit us from actually experiencing intuition on a regular basis. Can you finish that? But maybe there's a bit more on that.
Yeah, the other thing Clint touched on was that he has tried and is trying meditation to get in touch with his inner voice, but so far no luck.
Okay.
That feels a bit of pressure there.
It does. I mean, people often assume that I meditate. I rarely ever meditate. I have a kind of a guided meditation which works, and I do it maybe once a week, once a month. Sometimes I'll do it twice in a week. But I'm not as big a believer in meditation as everyone else, or many other people are advocates of meditation. I'm not saying it doesn't have value. But I know for me, I tried meditation. I suppose that's the point. I was trying meditation. There was a lot of pressure. I ended up kind of resenting and pushing meditation away. And I think for whatever reason, I was doing it the wrong way. It was the wrong timing. I don't think meditation is a necessary gateway to intuition. I think it can enhance it. Some people would disagree. They would be on my case straight away. Hence the reason we took comments off off the blog itself, because we didn't want to get into debates constantly. I'm here to deliver value, not to debate with people who are angry and pissed off or sitting in some office somewhere who just want to debate all their lives. So I drop meditation. Forget about meditation, and don't look at meditation as a gateway to intuition. Intuition exists over and above meditation. So therefore, my strong suggestion is let go of meditation for a period. If it offers other benefits, then bring it back into your life. But start to go after intuition in isolation. Like, look at intuition as something that, believe that you have it, and start to consider what it is that's getting in the way. And you're probably a lot more intuitive than you think. You're just not necessarily trusting that. And we often get confused between the head and the gut, or the head and the heart, the head and the soul, whatever you want to call it. I call it soul set, where it's living more from the place of here, not completely living from here. This is important. And we're slammed with the power of mindset and how amazing mindset is. I don't trust my brain at all. So hopefully that gives you somewhere to start. And as I said, the last couple of blog posts, there's quite a lot of information, quite a lot of detail, quite a lot of specifics in terms of identifying things. Mm-hmm. You don't come to me for how-tos, like 5 steps to how-to. This is about drawing out awareness and understanding. So you naturally move towards a place that serves you, as opposed to trying to create a 5-step process where basically it can often be an unauthentic stepping process for yourself. So anyway.
Okay, perfect.
Do you want to do another one?
Let's do another one, yeah. Okay, next up we have Stephen. Thank you for the question, Stephen. I'm sitting in a coffee shop and this question is sitting on my heart. Why does our authentic truth seem to hide from us, and how can we get in better touch with it? It seems like I want to self-sabotage at times so I won't know it, and have a great fear of it without even understanding why. Yet I would rather die than not live it. And then thought you should start with the easy question, smile.
Jesus.
Touche.
So just give me the first part of the question again.
The crux of it is, why does our authentic truth seem to hide from us, and how we can get better in touch with it, our authentic truth?
I don't think it hides from us at all. I think we hide from it.
Oh.
I think we actually hide from it. I don't think it hides from us at all. I think we hide from it, we run from it. I can give you many examples. I'm going to give you one where I won't tell you the whole background story, but it was a retreat I was running at a group of people there. I ended up breaking the women. I separated the women to the men. I spent some time individually with those 2 groups, which I've never done before, never done since, because I don't necessarily see women and men differently at all. But I just tried because I trusted that there was some type of conversation that needed to happen, and I felt that it'd probably be more congruent if I separated the 2. Anyway, long story short, one woman in the room had something to offer to another lady, and I basically gave her, permission, space, whatever you want to call it, to do that. Which I'll do on occasions when it feels right and it's safe, etc. So she shared something, quite significant, very personal to her, which supported this other lady. And I wasn't really interested in the person who had the breakthrough, the person that she was supporting. I was really with the person who was offering, who was teaching, who was inspiring. And I kind of sat back and I smiled, because this is the lady that had been working with me for a period of time, who basically said she didn't have clarity about what she wanted to do. She was adamant that she didn't have clarity about the future, about what she wants to do for the rest of her life, etc. And I sat back and I looked at her and I said, how does it feel to be able to gift somebody, part of your story, etc. And she looked at me and she said, F you, McKernan, type of thing. In other words, it's amazing how often people will come to my work seeking clarity, or seeking the clarity that at one level they don't even want. They don't want it because, unfortunately, for a few different reasons, but one of them is it requires them then, if they identify it, requires them often to start making some subtle or significant changes in their life, and often we're afraid of that change. So I think we hide from our truth. We don't address it. We don't step into it. And with respect to Stephen, and I think I know who that Stephen is, based on the question, it's probably a lot more heady, that question, than you might think. It's coming from a kind of intuitive place, and I get the question, but I think it's a very heady question. I think that's part of the problem.
So Philip, just on our authentic truth though, why do we hide from it? Or, what should people do if someone was listening here? Do they stop and take space? What do they?
I think our truth is, it can be daunting, because often the reality is, the gut is like, I don't think people are often as happy as they tell themselves. I had a gentleman last week. I actually had quite a few individuals not necessarily last week, but in the last month, sitting in front of me, telling me that they're happy, telling me that they're okay, their life is fine. And I'm sick and tired. And I don't mean this in a judgmental, harsh, non-compassionate way. I'm just sick and tired because it hurts. Like, it's painful to watch and to hear people justify the existence that they've created when they know in their heart and soul that they're not really happy. They know in their heart and soul that something else is possible, something bigger, something better. And I don't mean bigger and better, I hate even that term, but just something more aligned as possible. It doesn't have to be bigger and better, but something more alignment, more truth. And that it can be overwhelming, because I think often we don't want to face the truth. And one of the things that I'm really annoying, and you know this better than most. You didn't have to say that in public, but anyway, I'm really annoying is because I'm after the truth, not my truth, not the life that I think you should live, but the life that I believe that you're either destined to live, that you're capable of living, that you have the opportunity to living, that are various other aspects of that. We don't need to live and sit in relationships that don't work anymore. We don't need to do work that doesn't stir our soul. And we don't need to live in places for money and for monetary reasons alone, when really we're not destined to be living in that place, that we want to be beside the sea, that we want to be beside the mountains. We don't need to do that anymore.
So then, Philip, sorry to cut in, so why do we do that? Like, why did the lady you talked about?
I think it's all to do with value. We believe we give ourselves what we feel we deserve. You've probably heard that a million times out of my mouth if you're a follower of the work I do, or you've been in the work I do. And I'm sorry, but I'm going to harp on it a bit again. Is that we give ourselves what we feel we deserve. So at some level, we feel that that's the life that we deserve. That's the limit of the life that we deserve, and that's why we put up with it. So. Yeah, I think we should move on.
Yes, great question. We could be here all day with that one.
Maybe one more.
Okay, one more. Dave, this is a one-liner question. David, I'm curious to know how you overcome negativity in your own life.
He's calling me David, or he's David?
No, he's David.
Okay, great. Not a good start out calling me David, but that's okay. Most people call me, what do they call me, Patrick, or they call me Peter. Many people call me Patrick and Peter. Anyway, that's very inspirational and useful information.
This is from David.
Okay, David. Sorry, read it again, please.
I'm curious to know how you overcome negativity in your own life.
I don't think I do. Sometimes I don't. I mean, there's always this assumption that when you're a teacher, a guru. I don't call myself a guru, but that's sometimes people assume I am, or refer to me as public speaker, teacher, writer, whatever you want to call me. That we often have some kind of magical, mystical powers that we avoid a lot of what humanity face, and through the vulnerabilities of humanity. And I don't overcome some of them. Sometimes they're with me, but I think I address them. I speak to them. I name them. How do you
I would think, Philip, that you face things straight on. Like, you don't hide from things. So if there's something bugging you, or something happens that's negative, you actually take a bit of action around it. Mm. You might sit with it, but you actually do something about it, rather than try and hide from it and put it away and pretend it doesn't exist. So I think that would be the one thing.
Yeah. I think I name it, and I talk about it, and I share it. And I think often we have been designed in life through witnessing our parents. Historically, a lot of the older generations or previous generations didn't necessarily share stuff, and I do share, and I share it or download it on you. And a couple of people behind me. I'm a very private individual, a lot more private than people think or know about me. I'm an extremely private individual.
But can I come in there as well?
Yeah.
But I think the other thing that you do is that you actually look for the gift in it, or maybe the signpost that it's trying to tell you. or the message that's coming with it. So it's just not something to get over with. Like, what is there a message to be gained from it, or maybe question why something is negative?
Yeah, it's, if you think about it in terms of pain, physical pain, if somebody has a bad back or a bad knee, they sometimes go to the cabinet and take out painkillers, or and often it's like, I'm always about the why. Why is that negativity there? Is it trying to tell you something? Like, why is that pain in the knee? Like, I had a knee issue recently, and rather than just take painkillers or rub some sort of ointment on it to get rid of the pain, I want to know why the hell it's there. I mean, because the body's trying to tell me something. Turns out that my foot is a bit dodgy because I jumped off a flight of stairs about 20 years ago, drunk. Thought it was a great idea at the time. I'm sure it was. But so there's some issue with my foot. My right foot isn't stable, and therefore it's putting pressure on my knee. So it's basically my body is telling me that you need to either work on this, back off, align, do something with it, etc. And I think a lot of negativity that we face, we work so hard to move over it, through it, beyond it, around it, and we don't stop to face what, stop and see what is it actually trying to tell you. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's something to begin with. Let's leave it there because I don't want to go too much longer, and we have more questions. We got a lot more questions than we expected. We'll endeavour to move through these series. We'll do 2 or 3 of these, see what we think. If I put it on Facebook, give us some feedback in terms of what you believe. Drop us an email. We've taken comments off our blog simply because we had people who had, out of context, didn't know me, didn't step into my work, had never seen me live, get on and start to debate and argue points, and it was just taking up way too much of my energy and time. I'm not here to argue and debate. I'm here to serve by what I believe, by what I see, by what I witness in other individuals. For some of you who are wondering why I'm doing most of the talking, is because that's what I do. Not just talking, but it's in terms of a teaching capacity. That's what I'm here to do. So if maybe in time we'll hear more from you around it as well. Maybe we'll do something about relationships.
Oh yes,
we can
sit here talk about that
and hold our hands and pretend we're happy all the time.
Well, let's just finish. Thanks, Clint, Stephen, and David. Anything else?
That was very official. That's so official. Okay, great. Thanks for doing that. Okay. I appreciate you reading. It's hard to read. I find it hard to read full time or full stop. And hopefully that delivers some value, and we'll endeavour to move through the rest of them. And I also suspect that these questions resonate with a couple of other people as well. And hopefully today we've provided a little bit of value. So if we have, share us and tell people about it and go from there. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.